It's the last day of the month of July. It's a Monday. I've been, my emotions have just been crazy the last few days. I'm feeling good physically. For the most part, I'm feeling way stronger. Feel like I have good energy. I'm sleeping well. The doctor said, according to the doctor's notes on my lab work and stuff from last week, I'm improving. But emotionally, I've just been all over the place. Yesterday morning and Saturday, I was really sad, experiencing a lot of anger. And I actually took some time to not just to think about it. Sometimes my thoughts can be so scattered and my emotions can be so conflicting that I think it helps me to write them down sometimes. So I actually did that. What am I upset about? What's driving these feelings in me? And what are the feelings? The feelings, for someone like me who grew up in a house where I wasn't allowed to talk about my feelings, even just doing that can be very challenging, identifying what I'm feeling. But some of what I'm feeling is confusion about what I should do, what, if anything, I did wrong in the past few years. Where is God in these circumstances that I'm experiencing? Feeling some anger and some resentment towards my wife, towards my family at large. Some grief. And of course, some loneliness, sadness. And I thought about what are the specific things, that are driving these feelings. What are the thoughts that I'm having, or where's my mind centered at? And I told my wife some of these things yesterday, but one of the major things is feeling like my marriage is over, feeling like it's over before it ever even got good, or ever even got off the ground. And just from the beginning, just sort of like reckoning, that from the beginning, this thing has not felt good to me. It has not been a source of joy. It hasn't been a comfort to me. Right now, with my circumstances, I'm applying for jobs left and right, especially like in the month of July, just really aggressively trying to find work. I've been to some interviews, and even in different industries, trying to focus in on something, get back to work, because I realize that we need cash flow right now. Right now, Jesus, from my lips to your ears, we need something to give here. I've missed some payments. We are food insecure. It just feels that way anyway. And it's all because I haven't worked in the last year. And even about that situation, it upsets me because that wasn't something I planned for. A big emotional crash, depressive episode was not something that I saw coming. It wasn't something I even knew what it was until it had laid me out. And it wasn't something I could just snap out of. I tried. It wasn't something that I could just think my way out of. It seemed like something that by design was just going to take its pound of flesh. And we're just still kind of recovering from that. And I don't know, there's a sense of, in me, a sense of confusion about that. Like, Lord, why did this have to happen? Why did this happen the way it did? And because I don't think it should be. There's like Christian guilt, in there. Like, this should never have been. I should never have been depressed. I should have been walking in the glory band and singing praises to God, and never have experienced this crash, this the thing that I have walked through, which our social sciences call depression. And so, it's indebtedness. I'm in debt. Our credit rating has taken a hit, and that's upsetting to me because it feels like it should never have happened. It kind of feels like, as I've, just pinpointing these thoughts, it's kind of felt like, the third thing is kind of like it feels like I don't really have a reason to be alive. Like, there's really nothing to look forward to. There's nothing exciting around the corner. There's no joy in where I am now, or what I'm doing now, or who I'm around. And it just feels like a drag, like life's a drag, One thing that I was reading this article about INFJs and intelligent people in general, people who are really intelligent. And it said, I identified with a lot of it. It felt like I was reading from like something that maybe I wrote, except it wasn't. It was kind of poorly written. But the sentiments that it expressed, I could identify with. And one of those things was really just feeling like nobody gets me. Just the loneliness of, I've lived my whole life and I've never met anyone who's like me or who thinks similar to me. And that seems weird. I guess I've just been in the wrong circles. But like in my family, in my church situations, maybe the one exception that I can think of, even with friends, there haven't been a lot of people who like, I felt like they really understood where I was coming from and they were really listening to me. Maybe the one exception to that rule is Jessica and I's marriage counselor, Dr. Sharp. He seems to really get where I'm coming from on a lot of things. When I talk about things that are really kind of nuanced and outside of the mainstream, like in the church or the way I regard things, he seems to really get it. And he in fact told me one time, he's like, it's probably who could get you. There's probably like one person out of 100 who could get you, who could understand you and understand where you're coming from. And he was talking about just that I'm deep, I'm not like other people. I don't see things the way other people do, like the majority of people do. So I know there's people like me out there, but I haven't found them. And I'm surrounded by people who aren't like me and who don't get me and who are very critical of me, and they want me to become like them. They want me to conform and be like them and relate to them at their level, but no one ever relates to me at my level. And it's frustrating and lonely. And I've had just a sense of purposelessness in this. I've thought, man, I'm not where I should be in any regard. I've just failed in everything. I failed as a father. I failed as a husband. I failed as a churchgoer and as a disciple of Jesus. I failed financially. I failed scholastically. I just kind of look at my life and go, I could have been. I see a lot of potential that I could have been. I could have been a doctor. I could have been a this or that, or I where would I be in life right now if I had made different choices, like for who I married or how many kids I had or didn't have or whatever. And I just think back and I'm like, I just haven't lived up to my potential, and I don't even know what my potential was or is, or what the focus should be. And I was just thinking about all that, and then the people that are around me right now, my middle son and my second daughter, of the 5 children I've had, they are the most combative, and they always were from personality. They always were the ones that would pick up an argument. And those are the two that are living with me and that are most vocal with me right now. They want to argue about everything, and it's driving me bananas. It's just driving me crazy. It's so hard for me not to react emotionally to the nonsense that I'm encountering. And so they're very like vocally opposed to things that I say. My wife has always traditionally been more passively opposed. She has had some times when she just out and out said no to me. No, I'm not going to help you, or no, I'm not going to move with you, or something like that. That's in the last year I'm talking about. I'm not talking about distant, far off history. I'm talking about in the last year. But for the most time, she's just kind of passive, quietly, resisting things that I say, or resisting my leadership or my viewpoints, whereas the kids are much more vocal about it. But either way, why do I have to live with people who want war? I think David wrote in one of the Psalms, he said, I'm for peace, but when I speak, they are for war. David considered himself to be a man of peace. He didn't want to argue. He didn't want to fight. Just wanted to be left alone. But it seems like whenever I try to express emotions or whatever, people run. They're scared. It's scary when Daddy says he's mad, or it's okay for everyone else, but not for me. So these are the things that I've been thinking about, and I identified some things that I know are not helping me in life. So hopefully I can back off of them and just be more conscious of them. One thing I know that isn't helping me is mindless scrolling, whether that is been TV shows or scrolling social media or looking at the news even. There's just such an overwhelming amount of negative stuff that it's just not helping me to look at it, even because I'm smart and I'm curious, I've always been interested. I go down bunny trails. I used to read the encyclopedia when I was a kid. Now I just go down these Wikipedia bunny trails, or I'm just interested in everything. And so I end up, because in an unfocused way, just kind of reading for hours about stuff that no one in their right mind ever needs to know. Last night, just as an example, I was up late reading about the movie The Song of the South that Disney made in 1946 or 49 or something like that. And you can't watch it in America. I remember seeing clips of it when I was a kid, but it's basically been banned in America because it was viewed as racist. And I was like, man, it'd be kind of cool to watch this movie. But then I was just reading all about it. And then I was reading about race riots that happened in 1919 in Arkansas. And I just went from one thing to another, and I was like, why am I doing this? This is hours gone by, and I'm not really doing anything productive. It's interesting to me, documentary type material, but it's not helping me in my life. And so just a lack of focus. It's the same with eating. I've had this pattern in my life of eating too much. And I know now that I eat when I'm bored. I'm an emotional eater. I eat when I'm bored. I eat when I'm feel like I need comfort, or when I've had a scored a victory of some kind. Everything that revolves around food, for a lot of ways, has to do with my emotions and not so much with the needs of my body. And so eating too much doesn't help me. Even thinking too much about things doesn't help me. If it's a scattered kind of approach, and it's not focused, it's not helping me. And I think even talking about things a lot of times is not helpful, because I react emotionally to what other people are saying. I'm just at a really heightened state of emotion right now. And I keep wondering, well, if I go back to work, when I go back to work, will this be less of a problem. Will I sort of level out emotionally, or will I be walking into a workplace kind of like on edge? I don't know. I've been praying this morning, praying, crying, and in my regular, I'm sort of praying through the Psalms, and so just in order, I came on Psalm 22 today. Psalm 22 starts with, my God, why have you forsaken me? And it expresses the idea that God is far away, and yet that God has been faithful in the past. But, and just being surrounded by, the psalmist mentioned several animals, the bulls with strong horns, and dogs, and just kind of feeling encircled and threatened by enemies, and seeking the Lord's salvation, rescue. And my thoughts today have been on the rescue of the Lord. And he says in there somewhere that God does not despise or abhor the affliction of the righteous, the things that the righteous is going through. So when I look at my experiences that I'm having right now, day to day, and that I've had in my life, most of them weren't things that I could change. Most of what I'm experiencing are not things that I could have changed. And I guess a part of me is just saying to the Lord, I don't care what I have to go through, or what losses I have to suffer, as long as you know about them and you're with me in them. I mean, really, I'm past the point of thinking I want to do some great thing for God. I want to transform the world, or make a logical argument that blows everyone away and save 10,000 people. And I would just be happy to be in the presence of the Lord, and to ask my questions of him, and to feel like I'm a friend of God, and to know that I'm a friend of God, regardless of what this world does, or how it responds to me.